Follow the White Rabbit is a game that will teach you practical politics. Practical politics is called practical politics because it is non-voting, which makes it very, very practical. Conventional politics is, of course, rule-based politics, which is what you do at the voting booth. It's very, very rule-based and timeline-based, you know, every 4 years, every 2 years, so on and so forth. And full-spectrum practical politics is engaging and taking out an opponent or a system or a corporation, so on and so forth, by any means necessary under the rules or under the laws, but never breaking the rules or never breaking the laws. But to understand anything, we first have to teach you practical politics, which is non-voting politics. The first basics are the art of staying on point or using a talking point and being able to say it over and over again to make your point, not arguing, just making a point. But this is an introduction again to Follow the White Rabbit, and Follow the White Rabbit is a game that will teach you practical politics. So Mr. Q is meeting with the three wise men, and they're discussing this, and the discussion got pretty heated. Young Mr. Q couldn't say a word in edgewise. 2 out of the 3 wise men were in a heated debate about this, and as you guessed, it worked very, very well. And after about the 3rd or 4th time, I guess, they started having a heated debate on why this was working. You know, how something like this, so simple and so easy, was working. And they were having some very lively debates this morning. And they for about 45 minutes they were debating. And before I go into what they were talking about, the different factors involved in Western civilization and white women at critical points, and the social engineering and whatnot, the different debates they were going into, as they were having this heated discussion, and I'll come back to that, the actual discussion, because it's relevant and interesting. But as they were having that, after about 40 minutes, the third wise man, he didn't say anything. He just sat there looking at them, listening, and he hadn't said anything. Then finally he piped up. He piped up and it was very loud. As they were arguing back and forth, and Mr. Q, you know, wasn't, I mean, obviously he had done his job, but as the 2 of the wise men were arguing back and forth, the third wise man sat quietly. Finally he piped up. He said, "Gentlemen, gentlemen, gentlemen, you've forgotten the basics. All your arguments are fine and good, but you have forgotten the basics." And then the 2 wise men just basically shut their mouths. They looked at him square in the eye, and they nodded in agreement, saying, yes, we forgot the basics. For 45 minutes, we forgot the basics. What basics is that? The basics of networking. It's that simple. Every single one of you listening to this, every single one on this planet has heard of the Jews. The Jews don't do anything magical. They're networking. That's all they do is network and promote each other. And basically try to seize critical points and promote each other. That's what they do. Sure. 1 or 2 at a critical point, and then they promote each other. That's all they do. The reason you hear about them, the local network of Hebrews running, let's say, Sony Pictures or something like that, and the reason you don't hear about the network maybe for the BND, the German intelligence group, is simply because one of them has a tendency of having leadership that tries to square circles. Yes, Hebrew leaders try to square circles. They have that tendency. There's some other people in Anglosphere that have that tendency as well, but Hebrew leaders try to square circles, and that's why you know about them. You don't know about any of the other successful networks because you yourself are in a network that's probably been successful to some extent. You don't know about it, but that's the basics. And that's what I'm here to teach you, is the basics. Always remember the basics. And it's always the same old song. The only thing that changes are the lyrics. And the lyrics are different this time. For instance, there's another basic. I've given it to you numerous times. Numerous times already I've given it to you. In your opinion, I'm a racist. You're just saying that because I'm white. Anti-racism is a code word for anti-white. What that is a basic repeater. Yes, it's a repeating talking point. A repeater is something anyone and everyone can repeat. Very simple. 5-year-old can do it. There has never been a campaign. There has never been a revolution. There has never been actually any struggle of any significance at all, or even a movement without a simple, catchy phrase that everyone could repeat. The American Revolution was "Don't tread on me." And a couple of others actually, but "Don't tread on me" was a big one. And in the last major election, you say, "Oh yes, we can." And that's a repeater. Everyone repeats it. A 5-year-old can repeat it. Most men don't like to do repeaters, believe it or not. Yeah, white men don't like to do repeaters, but women get involved and do it. But it's simple that kids do really well. Some African males don't do it. Some African women do it a lot. Your whole entire life, you've heard a repeater. Racist. It be racist. That be racist. So on and so forth. But it's always racist, 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 racist. Racist is a repeater. Yes, it's a repeater that stigmatizes and creates a lot of fear and a lot of anguish and whatever. When you have a word to say around a repeater that's been used to demoralize, one thing it does is it breaks fear. The more you say it, the more it breaks fear. Another thing it does 15 years after demoralization is it breaks it down. It basically breaks it down and gives you moral authority immediately. But that's something that everyone can master. In the Obama administration, basically right now there's an Obama administration, and that network was formulated during the campaign. Some of these people in Washington right now came together under an "Oh Yes We Can," which is a repeater, and they met at a local meeting. Then they worked at the local campaign headquarters, and then if you're smart, you learn how to get on his other talking point, maybe his environmental talking point, his economic talking point. You know, he has a lot of talking points, a lot more than us, because it's more complicated. Our stuff is very simple. Me a white rabbit, you a white rabbit. But Obama, you know, based on your talent, that's based on how many talking points you could do. But everyone got down the basic repeater, and then network formed around that. And in that network, there's some talented people that got pulled into Washington out of nowhere. That's how it works. Every one of you belongs to some organization or group. Maybe you're someone who likes to fly remote airplanes, those little remote controlled airplanes, and you're belong in a group, and your group gets together and does something or helps each other out, so on and so forth. Maybe you're an Aryan Girl Rabbit, and you're in a group of girls that who knows what you do? What is it you do? You like to go shopping for certain things, or you like to go to arts and crafts shows, or maybe you like to all watch the Hills together or something like that. I don't know what young Aryan girls are looking at these days. Every time it changes, every day it changes something new. But maybe you get together and watch Hills together. That's a network. That network will go on to probably get each other jobs, so on and so forth. But in a political struggle, it always happens around some kind of repeating phrase. Generally, you got to have a good repeater. We have that. That is the basics. You must have that in any struggle. In fact, any political campaign is going to have a basic repeater. They might not all be that good, but they're going to be something everyone can say. And that's what I'm giving you, a basic repeater. But never forget the basics of networking. A lot of people think people like the Hebrews do something magical. They don't. The reason you know about them is because their leadership has a tendency to try to square a circle. They try to do the impossible, and all they do is take off the circles. Whether it's changing Islam or something else, all you're going to do is take off the circles. Trying to change people doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. Human nature is nothing really to fool with, but you must have the basics down. That's one thing I learned. When in doubt, you go with the basics. It can be that simple. Timing is what becomes difficult and crucial for someone to gear up timing. In 1998, something like this could not work unless there was a crackdown, unless you had some external shock, like shutting down free speech across the board. That happened in other places in the Anglosphere, and that gets into radical politics very quickly. It has to. It's just a force of nature. The British National Party will automatically start doing well and better because everyone feels the heat. It's just the way it is. America or in Australia can even go that route as well. You know, the Australian First Party in some of these different places, but that's traditional politics. But right now you got demoralization crumbling. I mean, it is crumbling, and so pushing it aside with a basic repeater, which is geared around the same word that was used to demoralize you, is fantastic. Also, anytime you're getting shot at, whether verbally or otherwise, if you have something to say, you know, like they teach you in the Marines. If you're getting shot at, if you're under attack, anything you do becomes an act of offense, even retreating. But when you have something to say, when you always have something intelligent to say, even a basic repeater that sounds mundane and like a nana, it helps. If you're getting questioned by the authorities and you say, I have nothing to say, and you hand them a card to your lawyer, it helps. You know, there's no fear in that. Action kills fear. The problem is there's too much fear, and action kills fear. I mean,